All right, let's talk about ideas on where we can put teams.
So teams, summer league teams specifically, we got an email via Matt and Flint. He said he likes the idea of Traverse City in northern Michigan as a slam dunk, and I kind of led with this because I was curious because Traverse City is one of the bigger cities up north, and it's very much a vacation town. Like, the population like doubles or triples in the summers compared to the winters. And I wanted to put the idea out there of like putting teams in places specifically for that summer crowd that arrives, the vacationers, the seasonal tourists and whatnot. Like, would soccer, hold up there with such a transitive sort of population?
That's interesting. I don't know that I love the idea of sort of like, oh, we're going to capitalize on tourists necessarily. I mean, I guess every team kind of does a little bit. I maybe I can't put myself in the shoes of somebody who's like, you know what we're doing? We're going to Traverse City for vacation. And while we're there, we're going to watch a bunch of college kids play some soccer. Like that's just seems like a tough sell. Like my family would not be into it, Rob, is all I'm saying. So that seems odd to me, but I don't know enough about Traverse City. You're saying it's one of the bigger cities up north. I've just checked. Traverse City's population is 15,000. Their metro area has 153, so it's much, much bigger. The town is fairly small, but there's a lot of people kind of in the area. So I feel like there's probably enough population all year round who might
And there is a bit of a sports premise there too. There's historically been the Pit Spitters, a minor league baseball team, and then there's also the Red Wings do their like preseason up there. So there is a little bit of sporting heritage to a degree there, but whether minor leagues, because the minor league baseball, I'm not sure if they're an affiliate or whatever of a bigger team that wouldn't necessarily be relying on tickets at the door for their revenue. But an interesting concept to think about of just like, do we cater to vacationers?
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's move on. Traverse City is a possibility. What else?
All right. So Aaron, one of our consistent commenters, he suggested a few teams out in California that might be welcoming to a new team: Santa Rosa and Sonoma County in the Inland Empire.
Okay. So, well, you said Sonoma County? Sonoma
I don't
County's
know
up
if those
north.
things are separate. Is Sonoma and Inland Empire, are those separate places?
Very much so. Inland Empire is to the east of Los Angeles. It's like the greater suburban expanse. So, like my partner on the Best Soccer Show, Jared Dubois, lives in the Inland Empire in Ontario, California. Then you have like Riverside and Rancho Cucamonga, and I'm missing some other big communities out there. People who know the Empire will know what I'm missing. Lots of soccer history in the they have a indoor team in the Inland Empire. I'd be shocked if they don't have more soccer teams, although Andy is saying that's where dreams go to die. Okay. All right. I'll take your word for that. Now, Sonoma County is way up north. That's wine country. That's north of San Francisco. I was just there a couple months ago with my wife on a vacation. Napa has a team. In fact, that's part of the Michael Hitchcock portfolio is Napa Valley's team. But Napa is to the east of Sonoma. Sonoma has its own identity. It seems like Sonoma would be a place. I haven't been to Sonoma, the town, so I don't know. I can't speak to that. But maybe I drove through it. I don't know. I mean, it does feel like a very diverse, very eclectic place. Feels like there would be some interest in soccer. You might be able to get some tourists there as well, I suppose. I mean, I would look if Napa Valley was in town while I was in Napa Valley, I might have gone by to check. I saw a van with their logo on it. I got very excited for about 5 seconds. So
You're like out in the wild, real soccer right there.
Yeah.
It exists.
Yeah.
David Day suggested Baton Rouge, and he explains it might be a good idea because LSU Tiger Soccer, strong collegiate program, and that there's already the physical infrastructure and interest there.
Yeah, Baton Rouge, I think, I know there's the New Orleans Jesters down the road. I feel like Baton Rouge should probably have its own thing already. Like, what I'm a little bit worried about is like, are we talking about towns that already have teams and we just don't know them? And maybe other people don't know about them, right? Like one of the reasons to talk about Annapolis, to talk about McKinney, to talk about Lubbock, to talk about the teams that Hitchcock has and the others and other teams is to let people know they exist, because that's the biggest hurdle for these clubs, Rob. I mean, obviously people have to be willing to sort of engage with high-level amateur or semi-pro soccer. Like, that's a barrier for some people. Like, oh, I'm gonna go. They're not pros. They don't make millions of dollars. But if you're willing to do that, you just kind of have to know that these teams exist. And there are so many different versions of this. So USL League Two is the highest developmental level of the USL pyramid,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You also have short season leagues like the NPSL, which has been around for a very long time, National Premier Soccer League. Do I
Yep.
have that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Then you have kind of a different take on the same idea, which is the UPSL, which is high level semi pro mostly. That they're not playing in the summer UPSL. They're generally playing spring and fall.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do national playoffs and all this stuff. And that tends to be a lot of guys who are ex-college players or ex-pros, high-level players like that. And sometimes clubs will play in multiple leagues. So you'll have a team that plays in UPSL and also plays in the summer in the NPSL
Mm-hmm.
or USL League Two or whatever it is. So, getting kind of your head around what clubs exist is maybe as much a thing as anything else here. And we're throwing out like, that town needs a team. What if they got one? Like, did you know that Charlottesville has a team in the USL too? Charlottesville's a college town. That's University of Virginia. They got a team. I mean, there are teams up and down the East Coast, right? Akron City in the Midwest, FC Buffalo, Flint City Bucks. You know about them, obviously. I mean,
Yep.
these kind of Oakland County plays in the USL League Two. You obviously know that, right? So some of this I think is like maybe we need to go through and pick out these teams and go, oh, here's a team we know about. Maybe they're not doing 12,000, but how do we get them there? Like, how do we get them to a place where people know about them and are willing to go out and support their team?
Yeah, I think that we might be kind of pulling on that thread a little bit here as we progress with morning kick round. Before we go, a couple of other shout outs of folks suggesting some areas for teams. A guy called Random Dude, love the screen name. Random Dude suggested places that I wasn't familiar, didn't even realize they were close to each other, but Fort Collins, Colorado, and Laramie, Wyoming. He's suggesting in both places for a natural rivalry there.
I believe those are both college towns. Fort Collins is the home of Colorado State University, and I think University of Wyoming's in Laramie. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong there, but yeah, that's those two places are not too far. You can drive straight up north from Fort Collins and get to Laramie. My parents went to Colorado State, so that would be interesting. That is also the same area, by the way, that Northern Colorado Hailstorm was attempting to get their stuff going, and they got kicked out of USL League One, if I'm remembering my history correctly. But I do think that they still exist, Northern Colorado Hailstorm, and are maybe playing in one of those high amateur leagues that we were just talking about.
Yeah, and I believe that was like an ownership financial issue rather than like their participation. They won something, didn't they? Did they
They
win USL
won.
League One?
They won the Jägermeister Cup last year, actually. Did Hailstorm. Got kicked out of League One. They had some, but this is always the question, right? And this is why when we talk USL and adding a first division and pro rel and all these things and filling out these leagues, that thing about like what's going on with the ownership, what's going on with the stadium situation. Do you have a plan? By the way, Hailstorm playing in League for Clubs right now, which is also something we need to talk about. We need to do a little more. And I know we did our interview about the League for Clubs a while back. It's been a while. That's on
We
the
should
channel.
check in because they weren't even in action just yet when we did that interview. So a lot of other teams have joined that, and other amateur leagues have kind of joined an alliance with League for Clubs. So that like network of amateur clubs is kind of correlating or connecting to the League of
Right.
Clubs.
Yeah. Chris bringing that in. League for Clubs, part of the Mountain Premier League, partnered with the League for Clubs. Okay. But this goes back to this, right? So again, Crispy Doo 44, who's a member. Shout out to Crispy Doo. The non-professional level of soccer is very confusing. It is indeed very confusing. And I'll hit up Chris again here because I do think this is kind of what I mean. Like when we talk about the awareness, like, okay, Annapolis is making a push to get people in Annapolis in a soccer rich area to come out and support the Annapolis Blues in the summer. There are teams that are in USL League Two, or NPSL, UPSL, League for Clubs, that are not making that effort. He says, I think there's a big difference between a team existing and a team being a part of a community. UPSL team might exist, but it seems usually like 15 guys getting together to play some games, right?
No
And
doubt.
so what I will say is lots of those people have their hearts in the right place, right? Some of them are focused on development. I've talked to club owners in UPSL, for example, who have teams in UPSL, who their entire thing is, I just want kids from New York to get a chance to play some soccer to get seen. He's not out there. These owners are not out there going, you know what I want to do? Sell 10,000 tickets to a game. First of all, they don't even have the financial wherewithal to make the marketing push to do that. They don't even have the structure to do that. They certainly might not have the venue to do that. Remember, Annapolis Blues is playing in a college sports venue. They've got the space. Not everybody has that space. So there is and we have to allow for that range of approaches to this game. But I think I go back to our conversation with Hitch, in which he said, we've got a marketing team that, like, we got a company that does the marketing. We got a company that does the logos and the branding, because that's important. And that's how you get attention. Like, we've got a team that they built out that structure of all these various pieces that lots of these small time soccer club owners can't touch. They don't have it. They don't have access to it. So I'm wondering how, for those that are more ambitious, we get to that place.
Yeah, but see, like, it is hard to break out of that, 15 dudes playing games to going to be a team that brings in thousands of fans. There's a huge divide there, and just getting 15 to 25 soccer players organized and in the right direction is a thing all of its own. But adding the marketing and the professionalism, all that, a whole nother thing. Round of applause. New member on board, Thomas. Thank you for becoming an MK Ultra. Thank you for joining up and joining in. A couple shouts of suggestions for places before we get out for the day. A couple shouts for North Carolina teams. I saw Fayetteville and Wilmington both getting shouts. JB says Baltimore needs a legit team at any level.
I engaged with that a little bit. Baltimore, it's insane to me. Baltimore doesn't have a professional team that is doing something in USL at the very least. It makes no sense. I know that if you go back far enough, you know about Crystal Palace, Baltimore. There's been talks about a team in Baltimore. I think most recently DC United sold Loudoun United rather, to somebody else so they could focus on putting an MLS Next Pro team, their reserve team, in Baltimore, and have done nothing as far as I'm aware. Now, maybe there's red tape. Baltimore, just like any other city, has its own problems in terms of those things, but that is a waste of a place. Look, if Annapolis, which is an hour from Baltimore, can draw 12,000 people for a summer league game, Baltimore, a team in Baltimore, should be able to succeed on the pro level.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He also threw out anywhere in Delaware as well as an option. And then Adam, he threw out Evansville, Indiana for a USL2 team, and maybe try to do a similar thing to what DeMarcus Beasley's doing in Fort Wayne, kind of doing the USL2 things for a few years while garnering support to go pro, which should be happening here.
Home to a very successful college soccer program as well. Evansville, Indiana. So yeah, that kind of and what I was thinking about, so when somebody actually talked about in our comments about that part about putting teams in college towns, obviously part of why we're talking about that is the gap in the summer between the big time sports. But of course, lots of these places have college soccer, Rob, and we've talked about college soccer and trying to leverage or trying to bring college soccer under an umbrella that can help everybody kind of benefit from it and help those players. Man, that's the thing. Like, if you could just find a way to play through the summer with the college soccer team you already have, like, it's already there, wouldn't that be something else? Now, again, there's no school. It feels like it can't be part of the NCAA system or NAIA system, but why not just make, again, I don't know that it should be University of Indiana. The Hoosiers are playing in USL2, but why not have some team that is basically the college team, maybe rebrand it with their own identity, roll them through the summer, work it out with the college, play in the college venue. Could be awesome.
Hoosiers United FC. I can see it now.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Let's do that.
If you're watching this now and you haven't hit subscribe yet, do so now. Join the American soccer conversation with us here on Morning Kick Around and be like Thomas. Become an MK Ultra, become a member, $3.99 a month, supports this channel and gets you access to the Discord, which, Thomas, you'll be getting that soon. And then you'll get early access to videos, bonus content, and much more. And one thing I've been loving on the Discord channel is the intros thread where
Yeah.
everyone introduces themselves. And I love
Yeah.
how it's kind of turned into like soccer AA. It's like, hello, I'm Robert. I'm a soccer addict, and this is how I came to be this way. And I've really been enjoying those. Those have been really fun.
Yeah, your people are in there. Like I was raised in England until this age, and then I came over to the US. Your people are in there, Rob. It's great.
Hey, foundations start somewhere, and I like the ones that don't have that familial connections. Like I was watching this, or my friend showed me this. Those are stories to kind of veer off. Like I came from a different place, and I love soccer because I came from somewhere else. But like you, what is your spark? What is the thing that got you in the gut there? Yeah,
Me?
you. Yeah.
Well, I played as a kid in Northwest Louisiana, loved it. Moved to Montgomery, Alabama. My mom signed me up for either the wrong soccer team or Alabama just didn't care at the time. And we're talking about early 90s here, people. So, and I quit because it wasn't fun anymore. And then I just basically drifted away. I was again living in Alabama, moved to Northern Virginia in high school. World Cup happened, kind of breezed right by me. I'm sure I was aware of it, but it wasn't. I was a baseball kid. I was passionate about the Denver Broncos and my baseball and all that. And then early adulthood, found Fox Sports World or something. Heard a bunch of English people singing these silly songs and went, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And I had played FIFA. Like I was part of that. Was all part of my cultural experience. I knew who Batistuta was from playing EA Sports games and stuff like that. So it was sort of like just natural. Like, oh, this is awesome. Dove straight in. Decided that the most important thing in the world to me was the U.S. men's national team winning a World Cup, and here we are. Here we are.
Still hoping, aren't you there, Jason? As we all are. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Subscribe, become a member, all that stuff. And then one final note, coffee.com/morning kickaround. We've set a new goal, 3K for a travel, a reunion, a meeting of the MK Minds. We need to come up with a quippy name for that, but a goal to meet in a central location. Me, Jason, and the MK
Ultrapalooza. Just some spitball here.
Ultrapalooza. I like that. So we will be back on Wednesday. And until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.